And on that note of introductions, it is my honor to be introducing Caroline Vance, one of the directors on the Capital Innovation and Engagement team, who will talk more about the Catalytic Grant Fund. And I'm also very excited to have John Grimm on the line, who is the co-founder of Toast and CTO at Toast.org, the anchor funder for this open call. Now, John, we cannot thank you enough for your support and collaboration on this new open call. And I'd love for you to kick us off with a few words about Toast.org and why the organization chose to partner with ReFED and the Catalytic Grant Fund.
Great. Thanks, Angel, and welcome, everybody. Glad to see you all introducing yourself in the chat. I was telling the rest of the team I am coming down with a little bit of something, so my voice hasn't abandoned me so far, but hopefully I get through this. But my name is John Grimm, and as Angel said, I'm one of the co-founders here at Toast. I was Chief Technology Officer here for a little over 10 years, but last year I got this really amazing opportunity to start working with Toast.org full time. And it's amazing opportunities like this partnership with ReFED that really get me excited about the impact that we can have here. For those of you who aren't familiar with Toast, we provide a comprehensive software and fintech solution that really gives restaurants everything that they need to run their business, from point of sale, payments, delivery, digital ordering, team management, supplier management, and lots of things that I'm leaving out at this point. But our mission is really to empower the restaurant community to delight guests, do what they love, and thrive. Now, Toast.org is the social impact arm of Toast, and our purpose is to enrich the food experience for all and create a healthier, more sustainable, and equitable world. We aim to make an impact on key issues throughout the food ecosystem by leveraging Toast resources, our people, our products, and our philanthropy. And we focus on 3 pillars that really align with leverage points where Toast is uniquely positioned: our food, community, and environment. Within our environment pillar, one of the issues we're seeking to address is food waste. We recognize that the nearly 40% of food wasted in the US contributes to greenhouse gas emissions, exacerbating the climate crisis. And the food service industry alone is responsible for generating around 13 million tons of food waste. The environmental impact of this is staggering on its own, but it's really even more painful to think about when you pair that with the fact that a third of the world's population lacks consistent access to enough food. From the perspective of restaurants, including our customers, food waste is not only damaging to the environment, but to their bottom line. Restaurants are known for operating with thin margins, and they're always looking for ways to streamline those operations and reduce the cost of goods and services. It's within this context that Toast recently launched a new food waste reduction product suite, which is free for all of our point-of-sale customers and aims to help restaurants demystify their food waste, providing features like a food waste tracker in their POS, insights reporting dashboard, and educational resources. We're proud of this innovation that we're bringing to our more than 90,000 restaurant locations, but to have the impact we really want to have, we can't just do that for Toast customers. We need to help address the issue of food waste across all restaurants. And that's why we teamed up with ReFED, who's a true leader in the space. With a $1 million contribution from Toast.org, which is our largest philanthropic investment to date, we co-created this program with the goal of accelerating the development and adoption of food waste reduction solutions for restaurants. In addition to serving as the anchor funder for this current open call, we're also supporting a pilot phase of the grant program, which will allow select grantees to implement and test their solutions with small to medium-sized restaurants. The findings of these pilots will then be shared across the industry with the goal of advancing the collective knowledge and best practices in food waste management for all restaurants. Our research has shown that while restaurants often recognize the financial and environmental cost of food waste, they need low-cost, easy-to-use solutions that can really work in the day-to-day chaotic, sometimes chaotic anyway, operations of a restaurant. Our hope is that through this partnership with ReFED and with the innovation of solution providers like all of you joining the call today, Toast.org can help de-risk the adoption of effective food waste solutions for restaurants and catalyze systems level change. We're grateful to the ReFED team for their partnership, and we're really excited to see how the Catalytic Grant Fund will help move the restaurant industry forward in tackling this critical but complex challenge.
Amazing. Thank you, John. Thank you. We really couldn't be more grateful for your support and just can't wait to see what we achieve together. Now I would love to welcome Caroline to tell us more about the Catalytic Grant Fund and this new open call. Caroline, over to you.
Thanks so much, Angel. So at ReFED, I think you've probably heard we talk a lot about how important catalytic funding specifically is to being able to scale food waste solutions. And here I'm talking about capital that's patient, risk tolerant, and flexible, designed with the goal of creating additional impact. And that's why we launched the Catalytic Grant Fund. Our fund really focuses on opportunities where it's funding and our support can unlock additional capital and impact by providing non-recoverable and recoverable grants to for-profit organizations and nonprofit organizations, as well as post-grant support. And the fund is continuously raising capital from donors, and then we deploy that capital through an ongoing series of open calls that are built around specific priority food waste themes. And these are themes that are rooted in ReFED's data, analysis, and our subject matter expertise about where grant funding and innovation support is most needed. And that's what brings us to this new open call. So based on ReFED's data and our interviews with independent restaurants of all types, full service, fine dining, quick service, fast casual, we found that wasted food has often been perceived as part of the cost of doing business in a restaurant setting, although of course nobody likes it. And through this open call, our goal is to surface solutions that can reframe food waste reduction as an opportunity for restaurants to drive operational efficiency, deliver unique customer experiences, improve profit margins, and create a competitive advantage. And thanks to Toast.org's support in this particular case, we're also able to offer a subset of winning grantees an opportunity to pilot their solution with small to medium-sized independent restaurants. We're really excited about that piece. And ReFED and Toast.org's collective goal here is to accelerate the adoption of food waste solutions by restaurants. And the pilots will help further demonstrate a convincing business case for restaurants to implement these food waste solutions. So after talking with chefs and restaurant owners, we also got the opportunity to have a deeper understanding of the challenges that restaurants commonly face when exploring food waste solutions. And you heard, some of this mentioned in John's comments as well. First, there's the logistics piece. So restaurants may have inconsistent types and amounts of surplus food, and typically in their service later in the evening. And that can present a challenge for solutions that require a pickup or collection. Second, limited space presents a challenge. Restaurants typically don't have a lot of room for compost bins or other bins and storage space in the walk-in to hold edible surplus food for pickup. And then third, cost can be a barrier in an industry that's known for its slim margins. So solutions that carry significant costs, including costs in the form of employee time, can be a non-starter for restaurants. We also learned that food waste is generated at different points of the food value chain, depending on the restaurant type. So for a few examples, in most full-service restaurants, post-consumer plate waste usually makes up the most of the wasted food generally. Whereas in fine dining restaurants, we commonly saw most food waste generated during the prep. So byproducts and trim would make up most of their food waste volume. And then on the other side of the spectrum, most quick service and fast casual restaurants typically deal with overproduction, where they create more menu items than are purchased typically because they don't want to run out. So with all of that context in mind, that's why we designed this open call to focus on proposals for solutions that are pilot ready or solution providers that are already implementing solutions in restaurants, for solutions that can reduce food waste in a simple, affordable, and convenient way and demonstrate a strong business case. and for solution providers that are operating in the US or seeking to expand in the US. And in general, we're interested in solutions that can directly address some of the challenges we identified. And so here are some examples. So let's take the logistic challenges as an example. Are there new food donation, composting, upcycling, or other types of solutions that offer a hassle-free pickup system and perhaps even feedback loops to restaurants with actionable insights on how much food and what types of food they're diverting from the landfill, or provide some kind of compelling economic advantage for restaurants? Or in the case of limited space for compost bins and refrigerated storage, what if there were modular storage systems to hold otherwise wasted byproducts and surplus food until they could be picked up? For restaurants that generate a large volume of trim and byproducts, are there co-branding opportunities in which the value of the otherwise wasted product is maximized and transformed into a new product, potentially enabling restaurants to reach new customers or new technology that can minimize prep, trim, and cut labor costs? Could we address plate waste with the implementation of varying serving sizes? And what about overproduction? Could we prevent it with solutions that can be easily integrated into existing operations that can, allow restaurants to compare inventory and sales? And those are just some examples, some blue sky thinking. So on the flip side, it also became clear from our conversations with people in the restaurant industry that there are certain proposals that might not be a good fit for this open call. And so these are ineligible for this call. And this includes research proposals, advocacy or policy-related proposals, traditional food donation and compost pickup services, unless I would say the services incorporate an innovative aspect that remove or address some of the existing challenges that we've been discussing on this call that have until now limited restaurant uptake. And this comes as no surprise, but any proposal that does not directly reduce pre or post-consumer food waste in restaurant settings is also ineligible. And some of you may be wondering about solutions that reduce food waste in other food service settings like cafeterias and universities and corporate offices, if those are eligible. For this particular open call, solutions that reduce waste in those types of settings are out of scope and ineligible. And additionally, we recognize that there are other sustainability challenges that restaurants face, like packaging, but solutions that are specifically addressing packaging are out of scope for this particular open call. Okay, so in summary, you should consider applying if your proposal is pilot ready or already implementing solutions in restaurants, if it can reduce restaurant food waste in a simple, affordable, and convenient way, and or demonstrate a strong business case, and is operating in the US or seeking funding to expand in the US. And in your application, we really encourage you to explain how your solution addresses the challenges, the very specific challenges that we've been talking about that restaurants currently face that have hindered the industry's adoption of food waste solutions, and how your solution will be able to scale to reach more restaurants or be replicated in other locations. And additionally, if your team has experience in or deep knowledge of the restaurant industry, that is absolutely a plus. And please be sure to demonstrate that in your LOI. And then finally, if your solution is being implemented in large restaurant groups or chains, that's great. And we would just encourage you to demonstrate how your solution can also be implemented in small to medium-sized independent restaurants. So how it can address those specific challenges that we've been talking about that are particular to small and medium-sized restaurants. So if you're thinking that you check all those boxes, then maybe let's move on and talk about the timeline, including for the pilots and how to apply. So Angel, can I ask you to walk us through that?
Yes, absolutely. All right. So the first phase of the application process is submitting a letter of intent or an LOI. So this is your opportunity to tell us about your solution and demonstrate how it hits all of those open call requirements that Caroline walked us through. The deadline to submit an LOI is right around the corner. It's on November 20th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. And to be fair to all applicants, we will not be offering extensions. Now you can submit your LOI by following the link that just got sent through the chat. And I want to walk through a few friendly reminders for you when you go to complete your LOI. So if you're new to our Catalytic Grant Fund, you're going to want to first create a login and a profile. And if you've submitted to the grant fund before, you're going to sign in as usual. And either way, you're going to reach this portal that says to get started. So go ahead and click get started to access the LOI. Once you complete it, though, you're going to hit that you've completed it, but you're going to go back to your dashboard and click submit. That's the key prompt there, is you want to make sure you actually submit the LOI. Then after that, once you submit it, we will review the LOIs, and a select group of applicants will be invited to submit a full application. Now, this is the moment to give us more details about your proposal, your organizational impact track record, your team, and any other details that can demonstrate why your organization and your proposal are going to be impactful in terms of reducing food waste in restaurants. Then a select group of about 15 members on the independent review committee, which does include our very own John Grimm, as well as a representative from the National Restaurant Association. They're going to evaluate those full application submissions, and then they're going to select a subset of those applicants to be presented to the selection committee to review. The selection committee is comprised of internal ReFED team members, and they're ultimately going to select the grantees, and those will be announced by the end of April. Now, I know some of you are wondering, well, what about the pilot phase? Well, that comes next. So we'll first want to bring everyone together at ReFED's annual Food Waste Solution Summit. And then by July 2024, a subset of those grantees will be selected to participate in the pilots with small to medium-sized independent restaurants. And once the grantees and restaurants are matched, the design of the pilots will begin, with the aim of launching the pilots in August of next year. Of course, each pilot will be unique and have their own timeline and success markers, but we're going to aim to try and share any progress and outcomes in October 2024. Okay, so that's kind of the overview of the application process and the pilot phase. And let's open up the floor now to questions. If you do have any questions and you want to ask it to us, feel free to just click that raise hand button under reactions on your Zoom bar, and we'll be sure to call and you can ask the question for us.
And just to respond, somebody had noted that there was a typo on the timeline page. The LOI deadline is November 20th, not the 29th. So just to be clear, that it is the 20th.
No. Oh, good catch. All right. Charlie, it looks like you have a question. Feel free to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Well, maybe while Charlie is unmuting, I saw that there's
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead, Charlie, please.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Charlie with O-Town Compost, Orlando's community composter. And I just wanted to ask a question because it sounds like, a hassle-free pickup system is, meeting the eligible requirements of this grant, but at the same time, traditional compost pickup service is not. And, I don't really see our pickup service as traditional because we use customized bins and compostable liners to kind of get rid of the ick and odor and pest concerns. And, we've implemented a program that's already in full swing with 8 restaurants, low contamination, but high participation, the 2 pillars of a successful compost program. So I would be curious if, that is aligned with this.
Angel, I'm happy to hop in, and but please correct anything I might say wrong. So Charlie, I think the way that we would think about it is kind of so you heard us talk about the particular challenges that independent, small, medium-sized restaurants face. And so if in your application, your letter of intent, you are able to explain how it is that your particular solution that you've developed really specifically addresses those challenges and how you could see that being applicable to independent restaurants across the country in a way that allows for adoption of a solution that has been slow to be picked up by restaurants, I think then, go for it is what I would say. But I would say bearing in mind the fact that adoption has been slow to date, being able to explain why what you're doing is different and will make a difference in allowing more restaurants to adopt the solution is really important. Angel, would you add anything to that?
No, I think that's perfect. Thanks, Caroline. Awesome. Next up, I see Courtney. I'll ask you to unmute yourself, please.
Awesome. Thank you for hosting this session. This is really interesting. I just wanted clarification on, it sounds like solutions that are selected for the grant are the only ones that can participate in the pilot. Is that correct? Or is the pilot going to include folks that are not getting the grant money as well?
Caroline, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Angel.
For the pilots, it will be a subset of grantees that are selected to participate in the pilots.
So there's 15 grantees and a selection of those grantees will be piloting.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I hope I'm saying Debbie, I'll ask you to unmute.
Yes, thank you. It's Davey. I know you're asking. My question was just to clarify. So it seems as though the grants will go out more looking for products or services that are solutions to the challenges that you're addressing in the grant program. And I just wanted to clarify. So the project that we had in mind is more of a suite of services that can be applied to a number of food-related businesses, including restaurants. And I just kind of want to understand if instead of having like an individual service like composting or an individual product, if a program that kind of encapsulates a number of them embedded in the program could qualify to apply.
I think if I'm understanding correctly what you're describing, I think it could. I would just say that, kind of echo what I said before as well, that, it's great if the suite of products and services serves a range of customers. But what we're really interested in is what it can do for this particular type of business. So just bear that in mind as you prepare your LOI. Angel, would you add any caveat there?
No, that was great. Thank you.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Perfect. Emily, if you could unmute yourself. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for saying some really interesting work. Regarding businesses that you're targeting, would boutique hotels that are not part of a larger hotel management group, but do still have multiple food and beverage outlets and in-room services be in scope?
I don't know, Angel, if you heard that well. Emily, I had a hard time hearing what you were saying. Is it possible? Could you put the question in the chat maybe, and we can, I'm just having trouble.
Absolutely.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Great. I'll go ahead and ask Lillian to unmute.
Hi, thank you. I was wondering, when we make a proposal, should it just be for one restaurant, or when we're estimating the sort of budget and scope, could it be for 2 to 3 restaurants, for example, to do pilots at more than one?
That's a great question. I think maybe I'll just clarify one thing first, is that the amount of the grant or the grant request can cover more than the cost of a pilot. So and Angel, please correct me if I'm not explaining this well, but the grant, and this question has come up a couple of times in the chat, so maybe just I can respond to it now, that I think we're anticipating that the average grant size, of course, depending on what the request is likely to range from about like $100,000 to $250,000. And a portion of that would be related to the pilot, but the other part of it could be related to other things, in other ways of advancing your business or your operation. So when you're thinking about what you're requesting, just think about that in that larger scope, if that's helpful. But I would also say that if you as an organization feel like it's really the pilots that will be transformational for you and catalytic for you, don't feel pressure to put together a larger ask, and that the grant fund will be kind of flexible there. Angel, please, I don't think that was very clear, so please.
No, I think that was very clear, and I just wanted to build on that because there have been some questions about what we mean when we say pilot ready solutions. And so just to add on that, at a minimum, when we say pilot ready, you should have a product or service that you're ready to like test in a restaurant setting. And if your solution is more developed and proven, you should have some data and or a clear case study demonstrating the success of your solution in a restaurant setting. So hopefully that also clarifies a little bit more in that regard. Awesome. I'm going to ask this person to share their name that just unmuted.
Hi, Angel. Thank you. My name is Mo, and I'm with Ghostly Kitchen. That's our product. I was wondering if we are possibly selected, will we be working with POSs such as Toast? And in case that we don't have an integration, will Toast provide that sort of integration? And the second question would be, if we're somewhat pilot ready, but we have to kind of work out some of the kinks, would we still qualify?
Angel, can I invite you to address that one?
Yeah, can you say that one more time? I'm sorry, you cut out for me.
Sure. So for the first question is, if we were to work with point of sale systems that we don't integrate with or haven't integrated with, will Toast provide the integration? And two, if we are somewhat pilot ready, but we're still working out some of the bugs to address some of those challenges that you presented, should we still apply, or will we qualify, or should we just wait?
I would say so to your second question, if there's still some things you're testing and figuring out, explain what those challenges are in your LOI. Without knowing all the details, it's hard for me to give you a firm recommendation. But if you think you're ready to pilot, I would say just communicate what you anticipate those challenges to be. And I might actually, on that first question, if it's okay, John, ask you to step in there.
Yeah, sure. And I think it's one of those things that's going to be situational, to be upfront about it. We have a Toast has a partnership program, and we have a process for people to become partners. And I'm here, and the rest of the Toast.org team is here to help advocate for these solutions and try to move them forward. So where it makes sense, we'll try to help you go through that process to become integrated. Like our team would not be doing the technical integration work. That would fall on your team to work with our APIs and everything that exist. But we can help try to grease the wheels. What's the phrase I'm looking for? Try to help things just move along a little bit more smoothly if an integration is really key to your product's success. But we're also, like with any partner that we talk to, we definitely just encourage looking at sort of like low integration options, so that we can try to get to pilots quickly that can demonstrate value without kind of going through a sort of full integration operation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah, could you please unmute and share your question?
Hi, I'm from the city of Winter Park in Florida, Central Florida. I'm the sustainability manager, and we're really interested in this grant. We currently have a pilot program going with 8 of our restaurants here in Winter Park already started. So my first question is, the part of the first phase is to get connected with the restaurant. If we're already connected with restaurants, would we have to connect with additional restaurants, or could we continue, let's just say if we were selected, with one of the restaurants that we're already working with? I have several questions, by the way, so that's the first one. And I can continue, or you can answer as we go. I don't know what is best for you.
Why don't you keep going with the questions,
Okay.
and we'll note them down as you're going.
Okay, and second one, which was probably should be my first question, is I know it's for private and nonprofit. I am a government entity. Is this grant allowed for governments to apply? That's the next question. What do you consider as innovative? I know that's your fine print there, where it says, unless the services incorporate an innovative aspect that removes the existing challenges as discussed, that has limited restaurant uptake. What do you consider innovative? Because I feel like a lot of people have different perspectives on this word, and I think it'd be good to clarify that. And then what do you also consider as a hassle-free pickup system? I'm just kind of piggybacking off what Charlie said. We're working with him here on our composting pilot within the city. So that's why he's on the call, and would love to know what hassle-free pickup is in your definition. And I think that's it so far. Thank you.
Okay. Well, maybe kind of starting from the last two questions first, and then working our way backward. I think for your question about what is considered innovative, what do we mean by when we say something hassle-free? I think the general idea that we're trying to convey, it comes back to how do we get more small and medium-sized restaurants to implement food waste solutions? And, we talked about what are the challenges, or what has been a barrier to date. So when we say what we're looking for is something that's innovative, what we really mean, we want something that solves these challenges, and makes it easy, simple, affordable, convenient for small and medium-sized enterprises to adopt food waste solutions. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's a new technology. It could be a new process. It could be, I don't know, a new way of kind of organizing things, but it has to work within the constraints that we've talked about. So I think that's really what we mean when we use words like innovative or hassle-free. It's just, we know what the problem is today, or what the challenges are, or the barriers to adoption are today. So how does this solution that you're presenting overcome those? So does that make sense for?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And then in terms of applying as a government entity, this grant program really is focused on for-profits and nonprofits, but it did sound to me like you are partnering with some organizations that fit those criteria. So maybe we can talk offline about what that could look like for your particular case. So I'm going to put my email in the chat, and we can continue that conversation if that's okay with you.
Yes, please. Thanks.
Okay. And then, of course, I've forgotten the first question. I apologize. Angel, do you remember the first question?
I can repeat it if you want. So we have 8 restaurants working right now on our pilot. And so you said that you have the first phase is to assign a restaurant to, if you were receive the grant funding. So could we use one of the restaurants we already have working with to continue and implement, or is it has to be someone that you decide?
Yeah, so I think and again, Angel, please feel free to disagree with me here. I think that would be fine. We do have a space in our LOI where we invite you to let us know if there are restaurants that you have in mind to work with. We just would want to make sure that they kind of fit the criteria this small and medium-sized independent restaurant profile that we're looking for. Angel, anything else there?
Yeah, and the only thing I would just, for everyone else's knowledge, is it's not required for you to already have a restaurant partner. And I believe there were some questions in the chat about, well, what do we mean when we say small to medium-sized businesses for the pilots? We're looking at ideally less than 10 locations. So just also wanted to give that. Great, well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Up next, I see Dulce. Do you mind unmuting yourself, please?
Hello, my name is Vincent. I'm the director of operations for the Boat Gallery. So we do donation-based mobile farmers markets in the Charlotte area. So we take produce to the people. A way we're able to do this is by rescuing food. So we work with partner grocery stores to take anything that is deemed acceptable to them, and rescuing it. And we have volunteers who are able to pick up for us, and then we also facilitate the pickups. And we'll sort and go through everything, take what's good, and then compost what's bad. We work with a Crown Town Compost here in Charlotte, so they're able to compost the amounts of food that we're not able to take to our markets. And everything is free to the community, no barriers. So we track attendance, and so that we're able to get grant funds, but no ID, referrals, or any type of requirements that other agencies ask for is something that we don't require because we don't want it to be a barrier. One of the things we do want to expand is reaching out to restaurants. And I was just seeing if it would be like a good idea for us to apply, even if we don't have those connections right now with restaurants. It's something that we want to work towards, but being in a nonprofit is something that we would need funding for, to be able to upscale our process to go to restaurants, or be able to hire someone else who's gonna, since we're already doing grocery stores, to facilitate that process and facilitate volunteers helping us pick up food or helping us sort and repackaging anything that we would need to.
Thank you. And it is the question is whether your organization would be eligible for this particular open call.
Yes.
Okay. And so if I'm understanding correctly, it sounds like you are not currently working with restaurants, but would be looking to seek funding to expand your service to restaurants.
Yes. So right now, people are able to, people who work at restaurants or own restaurants are able to drop off donations, but it's not like on a constant basis that we don't have data. We have data to prove it, but it's not a substantial amount because we haven't been able to really advocate for that side or that perspective. So I was just looking to see if we were eligible, if this is another opportunity that we want to open up, if we don't have the data to back it up, because we only have worked with grocery stores here in Charlotte.
Right. I think so. I'll take a first pass and then Angel jump in. I think ideally there would be some data already to support why your approach would be effective for independent, small, medium-sized restaurants. I think that would certainly make it a more powerful LOI and application. If you think you have something different from what we described as sort of a traditional food rescue model that you hypothesize will work really particularly well for this type of restaurant, maybe we can talk offline more about how you would position that, but that's my initial reaction. Angel, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, again, even if you're not currently operating in restaurants, but you have a model that you believe works, to Caroline's point, you should make sure to indicate in your application why your model is going to be effective for restaurants to actually adopt it. But we can if you have more questions, happy to connect with you offline, and we can talk more about what your model is and whether or not this is the right open call. Caroline did send in her email address, so we can set up a time to chat. But thank you so much for your interest. Next up, Fengman, could you please unmute yourself, please?
Thank you. Yes, Fengmin here with MetaFood X, and since our solution is really about tracking the consumption, real consumption by menu item and by portion, and then use that, right, to control the production. So it does apply to, in particular, the fast and then casual restaurant, anywhere if it's distribution or it's actually cooking from raw material, or it's the final, right, serving place. So my question is more about, I know we were talking about earlier about the restaurant selection. So I want to share that because one is, do we actually would propose to do the pilot with one restaurant, or could be a couple, right? A couple might be better. That's the first one. Then the second one, the reason I mentioned that is those are the critical, the only, I think, dependencies, right, in those restaurants. If those observation points that we can tap in, that's all we need, right? Because it's camera based. So if I want to share that, if you guys do the pre-selection of a restaurant, then we want to, make sure that we have a pool of them, and we can also identify some potential ones to suggest.
Thank you, Fengman. Angel, can you maybe comment on the pilot, whether one pilot or multiple pilots? But that's great. And I'll just, reiterate that there in the LOI, you'll see a section that's related to the pilots, where you can fill in any information about what you might be envisioning.
Yeah, so the LOI is a great place to talk through more what that would look like for you, Fengman. But I would say we're only looking to do one type of pilot, but it could be done with multiple restaurants if it works, if it's what the restaurant needs. But I wouldn't say that you would be running two completely different pilot projects at the same time. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, totally. I'm talking about the same, just multiple restaurants, the same
Yes.
pilot. We don't, yeah. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Next up, sorry, Manish, could you please unmute yourself, please?
Yeah, hi. So my name is Manish, and I am from EcoRich Composting Solution. We provide on-site food waste recycling solution for all different size facilities. So we have already machines with school, colleges, restaurants, all the different kind of facility. So particularly, we are thinking about starting a rental program for restaurants. And because a lot of time they don't have a funding to put it in the beginning, so the rental program might help them to start the composting on site. Is that something can be part of the application?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, we would certainly, consider on-site food waste reduction technologies. And, in your application, I think you would also want to make sure you're demonstrating how your technology, addresses those constraints that we keep talking about that are specific to small and medium-sized restaurants, and particularly like the space that's available inside a location. So it sounds to me in scope, but just make sure that you're very clear about how your solution addresses all those particular challenges.
So it's a very staff-friendly unit, and that doesn't require much work on the, doing the actual recycling. And that's why we are getting very successful doing what we are doing. But main thing is that rental program can be part of the, application. And I think if we do that successfully, we'll be quite successful in, approaching a lot of restaurants.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's very interesting, and would just encourage you to put all of those details into the LOI. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you. C. James, could you unmute yourself, please?
Hi, I'm C. James Verde with Verde Consulting, and I already participate with something similar to somebody else mentioned, where they're picking up food from grocery stores. But we are already picking up, or should I say, the entity that I'm associated with is not only picking up from grocery stores, it's already picking up also from very small restaurants, and they're like right across the street from each other. What I'm interested in doing is bringing them together and finding funding to also include composting on an urban farm and locally. So I think what I want to know is, as long as it's in the United States, the whole project, which it will be, but they'll be across state, is there going to be any locational barrier issues? That's one. I'm in St. Louis, and I'm thinking of an urban farm that's in Cahokia, which is just across the river, 15-minute drive. But all of these entities are connected to me either by family, friends, or associations. And I think this would be an excellent opportunity to also incorporate composting ideas that are non-traditional, that happen in other countries but don't happen here. So just, am I wasting my time by filling out an LOI?
So to your specific question about the geography, the cross-state nature of it there's no issue with that at all.
Okay.
And in terms of the solution that you described, it sounds like it would be in scope. But what I would just say is that I think one thing that we're really interested in is how we can spur kind of mass adoption for restaurants across the whole country. And so as you're describing what you want to do, I would just encourage you to describe how you could see what you're doing in the St. Louis area being replicated in other parts of the country that might not have exactly the same sort of setup that you do.
Yeah, no.
I think that's the only thing I would the caveat I would share is that I think that would be really important for a successful.
Cool. I think that I would, if nothing else, feedback from you all on the LOI, and if we get it further in the process, even though we may not participate, just that feedback, because this is something I intend to present on the local and the state level as well. So yes, I intend to definitely to do it. I figured that if we got as far as one of the 15, then I would go to the city and say, hey, we got this far. Let's expand this conversation. And then to the state and say, hey, let's expand. So we're on the same page. I just needed that answer. I appreciate you.
Great, thank you.
And just a few themes that are coming through the chat that Caroline, I might ask you to help us make sure we're addressing are what types of restaurants. So we've talked about small to medium size, but what types of restaurants do we welcome to participate in the pilots? And there's been some questions about whether or not hotels or cafeterias are also in scope for this open call. So I'm happy to, unless you want to jump in, I'm happy to.
Oh, no, go ahead, Angel.
So feel free to add on to anything, Caroline, but in terms of the restaurants, so as I mentioned before, in terms of size, ideally less than 10 locations, but we are looking at all types. So that could be full service, and within that fine dining, quick service, fast casual. So all types of restaurants are welcome. In terms of what's in scope, so in the chat, you saw John made a great clarifying point about catering facilities within restaurants. And so that is something that we would welcome if you have a solution for that. But in terms of food service settings like universities, like corporate offices, you have a solution for that specifically, that would be out of scope for this open call. Caroline or John, any other clarifications you want to make just so our prospective applicants understand that a bit better?
No, I guess just, the overall point is that, if you have a solution that works in other settings too, that's fantastic and fabulous, and probably helps with your kind of scaling an overall customer adoption process. But what we've noticed is that there is a significant gap in solutions that do work for this segment, the small and medium-sized independent restaurant. And so that's why we're emphasizing or hitting so hard on the point that, these are the constraints that currently exist that are common across this segment, and how does your solution address those constraints? So you could also be operating in different settings, but if your solution works in this particular setting, that's what we're most interested in hearing about for this LOI. I don't know, John, is there anything else that oh, sorry, I think I caught you mid-cough.
It's okay, I'm back. I'm probably restating in a third different way. So, but maybe just a little bit more information gets added each time here. We're trying to have the most impact that we can have on food waste as a whole, and sort of focusing on the small to medium-sized restaurants. If you develop a solution that's going to work for those, you're probably going to be able to expand it to many other different types. But on the other hand, if you start from a large enterprise, would have amazing impact there, but it's going to be really hard to bring that down market to small to medium-sized restaurants that they don't have the same resources. They don't have the same, specialized employees that might be focusing on operations or whatever it might be. So, so that's just overall goal here. But if you have a solution that works for an independent, mom and pop restaurant, but you can also say that we really think this is going to be also very applicable to, I don't know, McDonald's at the far end, but probably somebody in between. That makes your proposal even more interesting to us, because we want to have things that can scale and support many different kinds of operations.
Thank you, John. And the last thing I want to just quickly touch on, because I know there were quite a few questions about impact and what we're looking for. And so I'll touch on those in two different ways, and Caroline and John, feel free to chime in at any point. But in terms of how we work with our grantees to track and measure impact, we actually understand that each grantee will be at different stages of its development of its initiative. And will have varying impacts. So we'll work with the grantees to create custom support plans with target success markers that are unique to their initiative. And for the pilot phase, we also anticipate that each pilot will be unique. And so at a high level, we're going to be looking for that direct reduction in food waste, but as well as any ways we can build that business case. So business advantages like improved profit margins, staff retention, or even access to new customers. So hopefully that gives a little bit of clarity on the types of things we'll be looking for. Caroline, what else would you add to that?
No, I don't think I would add anything. I just want to make sure I'm looking through the chat right now, and I know we only have a few more minutes, and I'm seeing a lot of questions about the process of pairing grantees and restaurants for pilots. I'm seeing a question about food courts. Sorry, everyone, I'm moving slowly. Question about boutique hotels and eligibility there. And a question about the timeline, if, when awards are given, and then, in terms of when the activities are undertaken. So maybe should we try addressing some of those in like a rapid fire round? Angel, do you want to talk about the pilot pairings?
Sure, I can quickly touch on that. With the pilot pairings, we do have a separate process with restaurants. So restaurants that are interested in participating in a pilot are submitting an interest intake form. And based on kind of what comes through that is kind of how we will match the needs of the restaurants that are selected for the pilots with the solutions that make the most sense for them that have been selected as grantees. So that's kind of at a high level, will match the need with the service that is kind of being offered. Caroline, anything else you'd add to that?
No, I don't think so. So sorry, on the point of the food courts and boutique hotels, Angel, do you want to touch on that one?
Yeah, sure. So hotels for this particular open call are not within scope for what we're working on. I would say though, in terms of food courts, I think if you can demonstrate, right, like again, everything we've been saying, that you'll be able to recover food from those types of restaurants and others, that's totally within scope. I would say for the pilot phase though, if you know of a restaurant in a food court, we would want to make sure that any relationship or dynamics with the building owner and management is also squared away, so that they would be able to successfully participate in the pilot without any of those potential complexities. Caroline, would you add anything to that?
No.
One clarifying comment, at least as I see it, and feel free for others to to disagree. But for the boutique hotel part, certainly, like hotels themselves are not part of this open call. Like a restaurant that happens to be in a hotel is certainly an eligible thing from for a pilot restaurant, if that makes sense. But I would say just focusing on food waste that is sort of specific to the hotel environment is probably not the most direct type of solution for this open call. But of course, restaurants and hotels are just also restaurants.
Thanks for that key clarification, John, that little nuance there.
And but there's still a number of questions in the chat, and I'm wondering if maybe what we should do is collect the questions, and we'll be sending out the recording and a recap to everyone. So maybe we can also send written responses to the questions we didn't get a chance to answer live.
Yes, absolutely. So what we'll do is we'll send a recap. We'll make sure to answer those questions in there as well, and as well as the recording. But yes, I know we only have a couple minutes left, so we'll quickly wrap up here. And all the screens. So, well, we appreciate all of you for joining us today and really expressing such great interest and great questions about this open call. I think next, we just like I said, we'll be posting the recording of the webinar on the Grant Fund webpage, and we'll send it to all the registrants of this webinar along with those key dates and links. And then we'll also make sure to respond to any of those questions we weren't able to get to today. I know there was quite a lot of questions on there. So, but again, we'll make sure to get that to you as soon as possible. Caroline or John, any departing words from you all?
No, maybe just to reiterate, the submission date for the LOI is November 20th, and it is an online form. I see that question right now. So the link it's on our website, and we'll also kind of include that reminder in the recap as well, where to submit your LOI. And I'm just putting Angel and my email again in the chat for follow-up.
Great. Again, well, thank you all for your time today and for spending an hour with us. We hope the rest of you all have a great day. And we look forward to learning all about your restaurant food-based solutions. Thank you.